It's March 12th, 2020, and I'm calling this No Sports Day 1, No Sports Day 3, Day 5, Day 14, No Sports Day 20, Day 23, and if my teeth look a little bit purple, it is because I've been drinking some wine tonight. Day 31, Day 39, Day 46. It's May 1st, 2020, and this is No Sports Day 50. That's right, we are halfway to 100, which I thought was a pretty important milestone to observe. And again, 50 is looking back, but how about looking forward? Another 50 days will put us in mid to late June, and by that point, I don't know, maybe sports are closer to coming back. Or maybe not. To be perfectly honest, it's been so hard to judge and evaluate these days. As of late, are things getting much better? Are they getting much worse? Or in reality, are they actually staying the same because of everybody's hard work and dedication? And maybe that's only easy to see as a positive if you are afforded the ability to have patience through all this. So I don't know about what's really going to happen, but with that said, I'm here to make 5 predictions. And I'm one to hate a lot of the speculation lately that doesn't play out to be truthful. Because I feel like everybody takes stuff so serious that they read in terms of sports and its ultimate return. And then there are unfulfilled promises and expectation versus reality and who said what. So I want to say, I hope you take all of what I'm about to give you very lightly. All right, this is just one man's observations and gut instincts. And in fact, the way I'd like you to look at it is not even right now. I'd rather you look at this 5 years down the road and compare and contrast what I'm saying now to what ultimately plays out. I think that's going to be most interesting about all this when we know how we got out of this. So here are my 5 predictions, beginning with number 1. We are not going to see fans attending sporting events across all sports, across all states for the rest of 2020. Now, that's not to say that fans won't come back for certain teams or certain leagues or certain regions of the country. It's just that everybody is swimming in different waters right now. Some areas are in the deep end. Others are in the shallow end. And so you can't make the rules wholesale across the board for everybody the same. Things are going to be different depending on situations and reservations and regulations. And that's perfectly fine. All of that is smart and all of that is outright necessary. I'm just here to say, I don't think there's going to be one magical day when all teams have all their fans back across the entire country. It's going to happen at different scales and different paces. Again, just not all at once. I don't think we're going to see everybody attending every sporting event they want to in our country in the rest of this year, 2020. Number 2, I do think baseball can play about 81 games. Maybe a little bit more, but not a lot more than that. Let's call it a half season. I think that's what at least they can get in. Now, how do they do this? I think it has to start with at least 2 weeks of, and I'm going to say spring training, but it's really going to be summer training. In July in Arizona? That's not going to be brutal, but it's also probably not going to be enough. Players would rather have much longer than that to get their bodies and minds and timing all in the right shape. But that's what baseball's probably going to offer. They'll probably go with that at a bare minimum. So that puts the season taking place in August, September, and October. That's the regular season. And I think it's all going to happen in Arizona for a bunch of different reasons, but climate and weather and resources and proximity. I think all of that is going to come into play. And despite all the different things you've heard, and maybe some of them are true, I'm just thinking this seems the most likely. They'll use the spring training facilities. They'll use Chase Field as kind of the hub for everything else, and they'll go with it. And it's going to require that players and coaches and staffs and team employees, everybody gets sequestered for 3 months. That's not going to be easy. In fact, that might be the toughest part of this going in that doesn't get talked about enough. But 3 months, however, is way more attainable and doable than hypothetically a 5-month situation like that, where players only go from the team hotel on the bus to the ballpark, back on the bus, and back to the hotel. And they're fed exclusively, and they're not allowed to go out on their own. Again, I think it's a huge ask, but I think 3 months of that for August, September, and October, and obviously part of July, and maybe November, I'll get to that, I think that is way more attainable than a longer span. Number 3, my next prediction, goes to the baseball playoffs. And like I just said, if you're finishing up the regular season in October, yes, your playoffs would take place in November. And everything would be able to conclude, how about this? A World Series that wraps up right around Thanksgiving. It's got kind of a ring to it, doesn't it? All these games would be played at neutral site venues. Now, I know we talked about all Arizona a second ago. At that point, if the situation still dictates that Arizona is best and is truly the only option, they'll play all the games every day at Chase Field. Maybe a morning, an afternoon, and a night game. Literally dusk till dawn, although the roof will probably be closed the entire time. Again, we're talking about weather conditions and being able to play these games without any outside variables, because you don't have the time to do that. You're also, with neutral sites, you're going to cut down on travel days in between, so you'll be able to expedite these playoffs. Now, if the situation allows for it, maybe Major League Baseball would move the playoffs around. Put one series in Seattle, put another series in Texas, how about one in Miami, Milwaukee, all dome stadiums where you wouldn't have to worry about the elements. So maybe that's possible. Baseball playoffs in November, that's my third prediction. At number 4, let's switch gears here to hockey. They are going to do every last thing possible to finish up the regular season, which they almost were able to complete back in March and into April. They're about 70 games into an 82-game regular season. They only need to finish off a dozen left. But it is so difficult. Because how do you do this? Do you start it back up in September? And then you need some time to finish the playoffs. The Stanley Cup playoffs routinely take more than 2 months to be done with. Well, about 2 months. But where are you going to get those 2 months from? And what are you going to do with everybody that you started up for the regular season, then you shut them down for 2 months, and then you started them right back up again? Doesn't that affect the next regular season that you're about to play? Does it start in December? I don't know. I'm not here to figure all that out. That's not the point of this. My prediction here at number 4 is that hockey's going to do everything they can to finish up the regular season that still right now remains incomplete. The other challenge of all this is that everybody is shut down right now. It's not like basketball, which I'll get to in a second, where players can still put up shots. There's no hand-eye coordination among any NHL player right now. Rinks are not open. They can't shoot pucks. They can't skate. They can't pass. They've lost all their timing. It takes weeks to get that back, but it also takes weeks to make sure that when players go out there, that they don't get hurt because their bodies and minds and timing weren't all in shape and in rhythm. So the two biggest challenges here, you can't just start on a dime, and the playoffs take significant time. That's what's up against the NHL and other hockey leagues, but I think they're going to do everything possible to try and finish up what they started. And last but not least here, switching gears to the sports which I think will actually have it easiest to make a return, the NBA, golf, and NASCAR. Basketball obviously has fewer athletes. We're talking about, 12 to 15 guys per team. So a less quantity of individuals, which would make it easier to test, easier to transport them from city to city or keep them quarantined in one spot. It's easier for these players to stay, like I said, in basketball shape. It's got to be possible that 99.9% of NBA players have access at this very moment to a full court. They can do whatever they want, put up shots, stay fresh, stay ready. Again, that's not something that a hockey player or a baseball player can actually do. None of them really have that resource. Golf, obviously the nature of distance and separation in that game, and the fact that it's outdoors and all the precautions that they could take and successfully execute, I just think it's all way easier to pull off, right? So golf comes back sooner. And then there's NASCAR, which for a lot of reasons could pretty much remain almost perfectly sterile if that's what they wanted to do. With the exception of pit crews and teams, and there might be some things to worry about and work on there, but again, not with any spectators in the grandstands. I'm talking about for the actual bare bones of a race and televising them. I think NASCAR would not have a problem coming back. And real quick, who I think has it the toughest in coming back, it's not actually the minor leagues, it's college sports for a lot of different reasons. Academic reasons, athletic reasons, logistics, financial reasons. There are so many things right now up against college sports. It is going to be, in my opinion, a mess once the next school year is supposed to begin. Let me actually leave you here with a bonus prediction that ends on a positive, because I really know that sports, when they come back, they're going to be magical for the general public. I think some of us realize right now on an everyday basis what we're missing, what we're not getting, but there's a lot of people out there who do miss it. They just don't realize it yet until it's tangible, until they have it back, until it feels like a gift all over again. And I'm not suggesting that any sport return prematurely. Problem and topic number 1A right now in our country is COVID-19. How to get an upper hand on this. But once sports are ready to come back, once it's the right time, I think you're going to find out how starved people are for real life entertainment and drama and distractions. And I do think that everyone, even right now, associated with sports, from the athletes to the coaches to the front office to those involved with promotions, even the broadcasters, even right now, I think we all know how privileged we will feel to help bring back something that is so important. Until then, this has been No Sports, Day 50.